What are the common patterns or the things that you see in women that you work with, maybe in leadership or maybe in their own personal relationships, where this MQ work you've found is really effective?
I'm so happy you asked that, because why women? So remember, the equation is self-awareness plus self-management. The first one is self-awareness. I have found from working with women, and as that person, that's who I used to be, that self-awareness is where we're starting, because most of the time the attention and the energy is all outward, and they are not as self-aware because they're constantly giving. So I have the MQ check-in. It's at mqcheckin.com. And during the MQ check-in, you start answering these questions about: how did I sleep? How do I feel right now? What are my emotions telling me? How much water did I drink today? What did I eat today? And then you actually start thinking about yourself. Wait a second, how am I showing up? That's the first step. We just focus on the self-awareness.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is so true. As women, we're just conditioned to tune in to everyone else's needs, make sure everyone is okay, our partners, our kids, even people that we work with, our family members, and we just kind of put ourselves last.
Welcome to Life and Love by Design. I'm your host, Odette Coronel, an accredited professional coach, relationship mentor, NLP practitioner, and coach supervisor. I have guided countless individuals and couples who feel stuck to step out of autopilot and create relationships and lives that feel intentional, joyful, and deeply fulfilling. Tune in every Wednesday where I'll share tools, conversations, practical strategies, and fresh perspectives so you can get more intentional about designing a life and relationship that truly fulfills you. So let's dive in.
Welcome back to Life and Love by Design, the podcast where we explore how to intentionally create a life and relationships that feel truly like yours. Today's conversation is one that I have been genuinely looking forward to. My guest is Coach Nami. She is a leadership coach, a motivational speaker, the founder of The Mind Quotient and MQ Press. She's also a 20-year veteran of the communication industry who made a powerful pivot into the work of healing, leadership, and intentional living, which really aligns with the show, especially for women. And she's also now a published author of Healing with Courage, which I just finished reading and is so powerful and I highly recommend. Nami is also deeply passionate about helping people co-create the life they desire by tapping into their gifts and spreading their light. And that energy is felt on every page of the book. Nami, I'm so grateful that you're here. Welcome to Life and Love by Design. You're not only a coach and a colleague, but you're also my friend. So welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. Before we dive into some of the deeper layers of your work and your book and all of the wisdom that you have to share, I like to start with something gentle and something light.
Okay.
So my first question to you is, what's something simple or small that's been bringing you joy lately?
So something that I picked up in July of last year is I went for a flower arrangement class. And it's something that I had wanted to do for, I think, maybe 15 years. And it's interesting because this is what your show is about, creating the life that you desire and about relationships and how important they are. And I know we're going to get into it, but especially the one with myself, it's very interesting that I wanted to do something for 15 years and never did it. Like I felt called to it. So anyway, I went for this flower arranging class to make bouquets from, you go and you buy the stems and you make bouquets. And it brought me so much joy. And so when I actually want to do something really special for myself, I just go buy maybe 10 different types of stems and I create all these bouquets, different sizes and shapes and all that. And I put them all around my home and I try to do it every week. And it's something that I purely only do for myself. I'm the one who's looking at the bouquets. My children, I don't think they care as much, but I'm the one who's looking at the bouquets. I put them together and it brings me immense joy.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love that. And it's such a reminder that joy doesn't have to be a huge thing or something loud or something complicated in order for it to be meaningful. And you're doing this flower arranging, you're being creative and you're doing it for you just to bring you joy. Like there's no reason for
Mhm.
it. There's you're not like going to get paid for it. There's
No.
no like you're not being productive by doing it. You're doing purely for joy and I love that.
Thank you.
For
Thank you.
me, it's knitting.
Ooh,
Actually, not it's actually crocheting, not knitting.
yes.
I like make blankets, I make scarves. I'm not really fancy, so I haven't made anything other than that, but it just brings me so much joy and I love it. I just give it to my kids and my family members whether they want them or not, but yeah, I love that.
I say when you tap into your life force, you tap into your light source. And for me, I think that like ranging things, being creative is like unleashing some of that light. So
Mhm.
it's amazing,
Yeah.
right? How it brings us
Yeah.
joy.
I love that.
Mhm.
So I know that you've spent over 20 years in the communication industry and you have a very successful career. And I know that you also you have three beautiful children and you were married. You had, like what was the perfect life, right? On paper that everyone is kind of working towards checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
And then I know that something happened and something internal happened that just led you to this whole other life and
Yeah.
this whole other chapter in your life. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what that journey was like and just that pivot where you had that realization like, okay, I have this, but I want something different?
Sure. Yeah, that's really an interesting way of saying it. When you were saying it, I almost was questioning why I even did it. Because it sounds so perfect. It even sounds perfect after having lived it. I would definitely was a shift. And in the book, you'll remember when I said I thought my life, some may say that it was like my life turned upside down, but it actually turned right side up. And it was because I was living this great life on the outside,
Yeah.
but it was something felt off on the inside. It's so hard
Mm.
to describe. It was more like a misalignment. It's just
Mm.
like something. And so, if you even think about any type of misalignment, whether it's in your car or in your body or anywhere in life, it likely is causing pain. It's either
Mm.
going to be causing your body pain, it's going to be
Yeah.
causing some type of pain somewhere. Your car might stop working, and
Mhm.
what was happening is this misalignment was causing me a lot of pain. And so I looked so put together and it looked like everything, like you said, every single box was checked, but it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel
Mm.
good.
Mm.
And more than anything, it was showing up in all my relationships and every relationship. And I was wondering, like, why, if everything looks so good on the outside, why am I not feeling good?
Mm.
And that's when I started to dig deeper. It was purely from things just started to crumble.
Mm.
And I did have to go to rock bottom's basement. And so the reason that I share so much of my journey is I'm hoping that that's not where everyone has to find the courage to go into the healing journey and, live a life of light and peace and love, which I talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that misalignment that you're referring to and that you felt it inside, something felt off inside of you. What were the clues? Like what were the things that you were feeling physically? Because I think that, it's funny, a lot of the episodes that I've been doing lately, the message seems to be the same. Like our body is almost like an antenna and it receives information and it's also giving us information and we have to be attuned to that and listen to it. What were the clues that you were noticing just within yourself that something was misaligned, that something wasn't right?
Interestingly, maybe it was just grace. I did not have much in terms of sometimes this develops into like autoimmune diseases or some type of ailment or like physical pain
Yeah.
in the body and, different types of things like that. I've always been blessed because I don't actually have a lot of physical manifestations of that misalignment. Mine were mostly showing up emotionally.
Mm.
And so emotionally, I would get triggered quite a bit.
Mm.
So mine showed up as triggers and they would cause me to cause others pain. which is not great. And so,
Okay.
and I think that's an important distinction
Huh.
because, yeah,
That's interesting. Wait a minute. That's interesting. Okay. So it wasn't so much that you were noticing in your body physically,
mm-mm.
but emotionally, which is also, I think,
Yes.
our emotions are also in our body. But you're saying emotionally, it was bringing things up in you and then impacting how you were interacting and relating with other people. Is that
Yes,
right?
correct. Correct. And that's when, so I mentioned that my relationships were not, I was having trouble in many of the relationships that I was in. And it could have been anything. Like it was definitely my marriage. It was even in my relationship with my children, just having a short fuse,
Mm,
impatience,
right.
not having a deep sense of empathy and understanding. And
Mm,
which is really interesting because I'm actually very empathetic, but that was one of the triggers that, like, protecting myself and not allowing myself to feel very deeply for others
mm,
in my life. It was definitely showing up in my work and my career. And it was and the way that it manifested for me is that kind of like a trigger, like lashing out and protecting myself. But when others are feeling pain because of me not being able to handle my emotions, then that's a really big sign that something needs to shift. And it wasn't
yeah.
every single other person in my life, which happens sometimes. You think, oh, it's this person, it's that person, it's this person I'm mentioning. It was me. I was the
You were the
one.
common
Oh my
factor
gosh, like
in
that
all
that
of it.
that
Yeah.
that Taylor Swift song, the one that I'm the problem, it's me.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Yeah.
It was. And that's when I hit my rock bottom and went into that healing journey.
Mm. So you noticed it and you
Mhm.
realize, okay, I am the common denominator here. If everyone's a problem, the problem is me, right?
Mhm.
And then what happened next? Like how did you I love the title of the book, Healing with Courage, because I think that, and I've said this before, like we all want to feel confident, right? So many people are
Yeah.
like, I wish I was more confident, but really what I think we should all be striving for is courage,
Yeah.
because the confidence comes after you've found the courage
It
to
does.
heal, found the courage to do the things you want to do, find the courage to just have joy, experience joy and creativity just for the sake of it. So how did you, okay, you had this awareness and this realization, how did you find the courage to make that shift?
I love this question. No one's ever asked me this question. It was interesting because the courage came naturally. I wouldn't say that it was something that I had to actually go and seek, but it came from a sense that, and I mentioned this in the book too. I love when we went into the coaching school, when we learned that everyone has the power within them to create the life that they want, and you're actually co-creating it all the time.
Mhm.
It was such a shift for me
Mhm.
because it was very different from how, I don't even want to say like I grew up. I'm just not even like how I was raised, but just the sense of like growing up societally
Mhm.
and thinking that life is always happening to me. And rather, it was a shift in, oh, wait a second. I have the power to change what is happening right now if it doesn't feel like it's in alignment with me. And
Yeah.
because I was empowered, it gave me courage. And so I think the empowerment and the courage were really tied together. And honest, like who was empowering me? It wasn't like somebody came to me and said, oh, you now have the power to go on this journey into yourself. I think the empowerment was just from just having agency as a human being. Oh wow, I
Mhm.
have agency as a human being to change my life if I don't like the way that it's going right now. And that those steps took courage, but you know, it's what you said, the confidence comes after. It was,
Mhm.
there's a very famous saying that says, don't think, just do. And so I want to say that that's kind of how it started.
Mhm.
I just knew that there were certain things that were going to help me and I would just do them. And
Mhm.
as I did them, the courage started to come and the confidence started to come. It actually was more action than
Mm.
even anything else because it was that, okay, I'm empowered, I can take action, and then when I would take action I would see some type of result, and it wasn't necessarily like instant gratification or quick results, but I knew that it was changing, and then so I would
Mhm.
keep going and keep going and keep going. It's been 5 years since I hit rock bottom's basement to like where
Mm.
I am now, and it's still a long way to go, because we're
Mhm.
constantly in this
Yeah.
healing journey. But one of the hopes that I had, as I mentioned, I felt empowered, and I felt empowered to have courage to do it because I have the power to do it as an agency, as a human being.
Mhm.
And so that was one of the reasons that I wanted to write about it, because I know that my makeup is just somewhat more courageous and braver than maybe some people are. And it's just the way that I am wired and the way that I have it. So I wanted to hopefully help people realize that there is somebody who's there to empower you. You're not alone. You are connected, and they're, almost empower them.
Yeah. It's such a huge insight when you realize that everything's happening for you and that you are co-creating everything that's happening to you. Because on the one hand, you kind of shift from, oh, I am a victim, or this is happening to me. And not that it's not valid that bad things have happened to, to all of us, but it's so much more empowering to know that we can make a change, that we can actually make different choices. And I love that you said you just took action. And there's that saying that just take the next step. You don't need to see the entire road to be able to just take the next step and trust that the road is still there, even if it's not clear. And it's so empowering because you just have to take that one step.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it all figured out. And like you said, we're never fully done healing. We're always on that journey.
Uh-oh.
And I love that. And by the way,
happened?
reading this memoir, I just want to mention to our readers, our listeners, that it's also like an invitation. Like we're not just learning and hearing about your story. We're also invited to go on this journey for ourselves. So in a way, I mean, I read it in one sitting, and I was answering the questions, and it's like you're going through your own journey, your own transformation. So it's you would think in a memoir, oh, I'm going to get to know what, Nami's experience and all that. And we do, but really the way that you do it is through beautiful poetry, first of all, but also in a way where we take the journey inward for ourselves too, which I think is absolutely beautiful. And I've never read a book quite like that, quite like this, that kind of ties your memoir, your story with our own. I think that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That was exactly the intention. It's meant to stir something inside so that you start to become more reflective of your own journey and your own, triggers and pain and darkness and light and spirituality and all of it. So yeah, thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah. It was interesting as I was reading and I was doing, and I was like, wow, I really resonate with all the poems that you wrote, for example, and then the questions and all of that. So even though your experience is unique and is your own, and mine might be different, and whoever reads your book, it's going to be unique, but really it matters, but it really, what connects us is just that transformation,
Yes.
that process, those emotions that come up for us as we're reading and as we're answering those questions. It connects us all. We can all resonate with that. And I thought that was so beautiful.
Thank you. Yes. Oh,
how did you get the idea to do it that way? Like, was that always your intention, or how did you want to share your memoir and your story?
The first time when I wrote it, I was writing it as a novel, and I was maybe 75% of the way through it, writing it just in prose as a novel and like a typical memoir. And then this past summer, I had to deal with some circumstances which were a little tough and unexpected and unplanned. And it brought up a lot of pain. And I just started writing, and this poetry just started coming out as exactly as it is. Most of the poems that you are reading in the book were written in one shot. Like they just flowed out like that. And so when it started to happen, and I loved it because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, this is coming through in a way, exactly what you just said, that more people can relate to. It's kept general enough, nuanced enough, but yet still has meaning. And so these are meaningful poems that will resonate with others. And that's the beautiful thing about poetry, is that when you read it, you make it your own. And it's subjective, just like art. And so that was when I realized that my memoir was going to be told through poetry. And so because they were different subject matters, and they just started to come up. I had a set of 11 of them actually 3 months ago. And then and then I was like, I have to do this, like, because I shared a few of them with very different audiences, and it was bringing people to tears because of that connection piece, because
Right.
it was stirring something in them that they didn't even know was inside. And when I started to see the reactions to the poems, that's when I was like, okay,
This
now
is
it's
it.
time.
Yeah.
This is how the memoir is supposed to be written. And so that's how it started. And then, yeah. And then now 3 months later, we have a book.
That's beautiful. Yeah. It's like a work of art.
Yeah.
The artist creates it, but then your interpretation of it, whatever resonates for you, you really make it your own.
Yes, exactly.
That's so
Yeah.
amazing.
Like a work of art.
If you're doing all the right things, you're showing up, you're holding it together, you're being capable and responsible, and yet something in your life and relationships or your marriage still feels off, then give me a few seconds of your time because this message is for you. You know, relationships don't usually fall apart because of one big event. More often, it's the small everyday moments when we stop being intentional, or we stop really listening, or we stop choosing connection. Those are the things that create distance over time. I work with thoughtful, high functioning individuals and couples who aren't broken, but they're feeling disconnected or misaligned or just wondering how they got here. In my coaching, we slow things down. We try to understand what's happening beneath the surface. We identify the patterns that are shaping your relationships and your choices, and then we intentionally design what comes next. So if you're listening and you're thinking, this feels like me, that's not an accident. I offer a complimentary relationship and life alignment audit. It's a focused 45-minute conversation where I'm going to help you gain clarity and identify what comes next. You can book your session by visiting odettecoronel.com. I would love to connect with you. So I know that you founded the Mind Quotient,
Yes.
which I know is a huge part of your work. So for someone in your world, how do you describe what MQ is and why you think it's so important?
Thank you for asking that question, because I would take any opportunity I can to talk about the mind quotient. So it was actually when we were in our school, and it was in the middle of the pandemic, which you remember. And
By the way, for everyone listening, we trained together at the same time in the same school. So that's why, when she says our school, it's literally our school where we started training together.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for that disclaimer. Yes, for clearing up any type of confusion. So we were in the same coaching school together, and it was during a conference that we had in the middle of the pandemic. And that particular day, I had received some news about somebody who had passed and lost their will to live, and had passed that morning. And so I actually ended up going into the conference, and I'm looking at all of us on the screen, and we're all thriving.
Yeah.
And people aren't even surviving. So what's the difference? And that's when I felt a very deep sense of understanding, knowing, and motivation that this work that we do, that you do, that I do, that several of our colleagues do, many others that we don't even know, many of the people that we look up to, our mentors, our teachers, that work is so important. And so and as a mother, I was thinking, okay, it doesn't matter if your IQ is high, and it doesn't matter if your EQ is high, because that person had really high IQ and EQ. But if they don't know how to control their mind, if we don't give our children or our loved ones the tools to be able to pull themselves out of the dark, none of it means anything. And so I was like, we just need to use the same language. And I started searching for it. And then I found that there are different ways that people talk about it, but it has not yet reached the level of standardization that I think would be impactful. And so that's actually where the mind quotient came from. So it's literally mastery of your mind. And it's that inner work to master your mind, master your mindset. I mean, truly, if you don't master it, it will master you. And that's where all this darkness comes from. And so that's the work that we do. You are not your mind. You are not your thoughts.
Right.
And hopefully one day everyone will use MQ and say, oh, it's not me, it's my mind. It's my MQ is low. I have tools to go and make it higher so I don't go and be destructive and do things that are of the dark.
Right. So it sounds like it's really wrapped around mindset.
Yeah, mindset. And also, it's interesting because I didn't call it the mindset quotient because that was something that came up,
Mm-hmm.
because mindset is part of it. I think there's this whole mind, soul, body connection too, that is
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily just your mindset either. So there's like mental health tied up in there. And so
Mm-hmm.
mental well-being. So I would say, yeah, it's about mindset and mental well-being. If you can master your
Mm-hmm.
mind, you can take care of all of that and just bring more light into the world and help convert some of the dark to the light, because that is so needed right now.
Right. Yeah. And it's true, your experience can be completely different depending on your ability to be able to manage your mind
Yes.
and all of it, also your emotions and
Mm-hmm.
all of that too. But we can be going through the same things, like you said, with the pandemic. So many people, there was
Yeah.
suffering, there were people actually getting sick all around us. And yet some people thrived, some people created businesses, and some
Yeah.
people lived in fear and anxiety. And
Yeah.
it's not all of it is valid. I think all of it has a
Absolutely.
place, but it's about, we needed to get through it. We needed to get through that. And how can we get through difficult situations in the most useful, empowering way? And I think that's where something like the MQ is so powerful, can be
Mm-hmm.
so useful. Can you give us just a little bit of example, just to kind of clarify a little bit further, just the difference? Because I think people are pretty familiar with the EQ,
Mm-hmm.
IQ, and even, I studied positive intelligence, which talks about, PQ.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be an example of MQ and
MQ.
some work, and how someone can use MQ to kind of get through a difficult situation, or maybe just to be well and develop positive habits?
It's so simple. So the equation is self-awareness plus self-management equals MQ. So if you become very self-aware, like, oh, when I'm in this situation, I don't feel good, or I don't feel good right now. And then you combine that with self-management. And because I don't feel good right now, I'm going to go take a walk, go for a run, go talk to somebody, take a nap, any of the boosters that you need to manage yourself. And it's different for
Mhm.
everyone. It's not prescriptive. Then your MQ will increase. That's it. It's so
Mm.
simple.
Mm. Yeah. What came to mind as you were saying that is even doing something like you doing the flower arranging. You are strengthening your MQ by
Mm-hmm.
doing something where you're using your creativity, it's bringing you joy, and that's increasing your MQ. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's huge. It's like
Yes.
you said, it's so simple. The more that we do things like that, right? Just do
Yeah.
things that make you feel good, that make you feel calm. Go for a walk, be present, be mindful. The more you're going to increase your MQ, and the more you're going to be able to handle when stressful situations arise, or when you feel
Yeah.
triggered, or when someone's, you're dealing with a difficult, client or family member, or whatever it is.
How powerful would it be, Odette? And the reason, so why use it? Because the language is important. If you're in a situation and you say to somebody, I need to go work on my MQ right now, like I just need to boost my MQ really quickly, and you go do whatever that thing is that makes you feel better. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's taking rest, maybe it's going and getting a glass of water, whatever it
Right.
is that you need
Mm-hmm.
to do for yourself, going and playing with your pet, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
going and watching some funny videos, whatever you need to do to
Yeah.
boost your MQ, you would know immediately what that person means. And if
Mm.
they say something that's like kind of short, or, they snip at me, or like they say something that doesn't feel so good, I would be able to say, ooh, you know what? Just go boost your MQ real quick.
Mm.
That's all you need to do. Go take a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Go do something that you really enjoy doing. Go paint, go color, go swing, go
Mm.
outside. We do it, right? We do it here and there, but there's no standardization to it.
Right,
And there's no
right.
recognition right now where like immediately you'll know, oh, that's just your MQ. Just go do something quickly and go boost
Mm.
it.
Mm. Yeah, I love that because it gives you something tangible that you can do. And also, you're not labeling the person as like, oh, you're
No,
being grouchy, you're being moody, you're
exactly.
being selfish, you're being rude, you're this or you're that. You're not giving them that identity. You're just saying, hey, you need to boost your MQ. Go do that. Go
Yes.
do that. So that language is not aggressive or like offensive, or it's kind of neutral. So I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right. I need 5 minutes. I'll be back. I'm going to go strengthen my
Mhm.
MQ. I'm going to go
Yeah.
work on my MQ.
Like in my house, I remember the first time I used it in conversation, my oldest was being really mean to my middle son. And I looked at him and I looked at my middle son. I said, it's not him. His MQ is low.
Mm.
And now we use the language quite a bit in my
So
house.
it works
But
for kids really well.
absolutely.
Yeah. I
Yep.
love that. What are the common patterns or the things that you see in women that you work with, maybe in leadership or maybe in their own personal relationships, where this MQ work you've found is really effective?
I'm so happy you asked that because why women? Like, so remember the equation is self-awareness plus self-management. The first one is self-awareness. I have found from working with women and as that person, that's who I used to be, that self-awareness is where we're starting because most of the time the attention and the energy is all outward
Yeah.
and they are not as self-aware because they're constantly giving. And this is not the rule. This is the rule. There are exceptions, of course, to the rule. But what I found is that they're not even thinking about themselves. So I have the MQ check-in. It's at mqcheckin.com. And during the MQ check-in, you start answering these questions about how did I sleep? How do I feel right now? What are my emotions telling me? How much water did I drink today? What did I eat today? And then you actually start thinking about yourself. Wait a second, how am I showing up? That's the first step. We
Mm.
just focus on the
Oh my
self-awareness.
gosh. Yeah. That is so true. As women, we're just conditioned to tune in to everyone else's needs, make sure everyone
Mhm.
is okay, our partners, our kids, even people that we work with, our family members, and we just kind of put ourselves last.
Yes.
And if we can just reverse, that's a huge part of the work that I do with my clients, is trying to get people to, and it was a lesson that has taken me decades, I think my whole life. I'm
Yeah.
learning it still. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. That when you fill your own cup, when you kind of take care of yourself first, then you can be there at 100% for everyone else, but you're not really helping anyone if you're just neglecting yourself. And that awareness, a lot of women don't even know what they need. They don't know what brings them joy. They don't know how they love spending their time. So having that awareness is the key.
It's the
That's
key.
where we start.
That is where we start. And that's like the beginning because that's where I started. And so
Mhm.
that's the first tool. We just start there. And then from there we can build tools. And the great thing about working on your MQ is it's all this work. And so it goes in different ways and different paths with different audiences and different people who have different needs. Like I work with several corporate business leaders and who are women corporate business leaders, and they have a different set of needs and discussions and questions and they go on a different learning path than others, like some of my private clients versus children versus some male adults and just some emerging leaders, and it's different for everyone, but the baseline is always the same. That self-awareness plus self-management, and then from there it's all growth.
Mm. Yeah. Do you find that in the corporate world, people are finding it useful and are open to you? Because I feel like in the corporate world, it would be so useful. So
So
useful. But I feel like sometimes they're very focused just on the bottom line and very
mhm.
concrete goals. And when you're talking about MQ, it's not as tangible. So do you find that they're finding it helpful and useful, even to help them in those other goals that they ultimately want to reach?
Mhm. That's a conversation that we're trying to change because what we're hoping that organizations realize, especially in the people leader space, is that when your people show up as their best selves with a high MQ, you will get what you're looking for. The higher
Right.
productivity, the higher retention, the greater work satisfaction, happier with their colleagues, less people going on performance improvement plans. Like all of those factors will come when your people show up as their best versions of themselves. So that's the conversation that we're trying to shift. What I have seen is that it differs. Some organizations completely understand and they know that investment in their people and giving them the tools and the resources to show up as their best versions of themselves is absolutely necessary. And other organizations, it tends to be less of a priority. And so the hope is that as more people talk about it and as, we just shift some of those conversations. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah. I wonder, so how much of it do you think in terms of your work, is it also just making people aware of it and really educating them about the value of this?
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
It's the education piece. We're at the self-awareness piece here. So
Yeah.
this is like we're like right at the beginning about the self-awareness
Right, yeah.
because that's
Bringing that to other leaders. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Which is why a lot of this work that I've been doing is so foundational. And even so, it's the MQ check-in is out there. It's foundational. It's like the simple test. It's the baseline. Having conversations with different types of people from all different parts of not only the corporate sector, small businesses, schools, all over, just trying to hit everywhere just to try to spread the word. It's like trying to get a message going of how important this work is. And not only that, just globally, because it is global. And so we're trying to, just
starting a movement here.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. I love that. And I really do think that it starts with the leadership, because once they see it, I think a lot of leaders, they want you to coach their employees and help them be more productive and help them, create more profit for the company. But if you can start with the leader and work on their MQ and their awareness, then they're open to it and they can be an example for their employees, and they can kind of set the tone and help influence in a positive way, which is going to help the company and it's going to help everyone personally, I think, as well.
Back to that self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
Many of them are not as aware of the opportunities for growth within themselves. And then from there stems all the, absolutely. I often use the phrase, everything starts at the top. That's because they're setting the temperature and everybody else is falling in
well,
line
I think it's just like, as parents with our children.
Yes.
We want our children to behave a certain way or to have certain habits or to even, have a certain diet, for example. And it starts with us.
It does.
We have to do it first. We have to go first. And we have to lead by example.
Absolutely. Yep. Modeling is huge. Yes.
Yeah. I love that. What do you think becomes possible for women when they begin to heal and lead with this awareness and with this? Really, for me, it's like about wholeness, right?
Yes.
It's about just their wholeness, them as a person, instead of just in that survival mode that so typically we're in, which is like our default.
So what I love about working with women is that it unlocks them and sometimes unleashes them, because when they start to work on their MQ, what you will see is them start to bring all their gifts out. There's all the purpose and the gifts, and it'll all start to flow out of them, and they start to tap into it because they're starting to live in alignment. And when that happens, and then they focus on getting those gifts into the world, because I also speak on self-advocacy a lot. So it's interesting. So part of it is this, and then now what? So it's the now what? Now you're gonna
now that you're unleashed.
Now that you're unleashed, we're going to bring your gifts to the world.
Get ready, world.
Yes, because we need it. We need it,
Yes, it's so true. But it's almost like we're giving when they're unleashed, when we are unleashed, you're also giving ourselves permission to be our full selves and get into our power. And so much is possible when we give ourselves permission to do that.
Yes. The possibilities are endless.
Yes. I love that. So, the podcast is called Life and Love by Design. And your work also speaks very, very much, and it's aligned with, living intentionally. What does living intentionally mean for you in this season of your life now, after all of this healing that you've done and that I'm sure you're still doing on
Yeah,
many levels, because we all are, right? So
absolutely.
what does that look like for you now?
When I think of living intentionally, I had to first get really clear on what my intentions were. And what I found is that a lot of them are my values. And so
Mhm.
it's almost like living from like a core place. People use different terminology for it. I've heard North Star, I've heard like internal GPS,
Mhm.
moral code. I've heard so many different types of language for it, but that's somewhat what it is. And so every single thing I do, I think about, does this align with what my values are, and two, with the life that I'm trying to create? And if it does, then it's a go. If it doesn't, then it needs a boundary.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. For me, I talk a lot about values also, and
Mhm.
that's my check-in sort of. I
Yes.
try to get really I think it was my second or third episode of this podcast was just on values, because it's something that even as a mom, my husband and I would always talk with our kids about what are our values, our individual values, our family values, because that's going to help them make decisions as they go out into the world and have to make these difficult decisions. You need to have some kind of compass or some kind of guide. And when we can
Absolutely.
go back to our values, you still not 100% sure, but you have some sense of direction, which is what I think we need. We don't
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we can trust.
You know, Something is coming up for me about the values and what I just said. So remember we talked about that self-awareness piece and women
Mhm.
thinking about themselves, like how
Yeah.
important it is. And when you talked about like how, it's hard to pull, you can't pour from an empty cup and all that. So one of the questions I often get is, oh, isn't that selfish?
Mm.
Like, okay, I'm just going to go do what I want and forget everyone else.
Mm.
But wait, you can absolutely put yourself first in alignment with your values.
Right.
So one of our family values is kindness. So one of our family values, personal value, everything is kindness. So yes, there are times when I need to take care of myself first, but it's not going to come across in an unkind way. And it's not that I'm not going to try to make time. So say, for example, for my children, if they come and ask me something and I'm just spent, I will say, I need some time to recover, come back, rest, whatever, and then we will do X, because I'm not an unkind person who's just going to say, well, screw you. Or if somebody comes and asks me for
Right.
something, and I don't have the capability of giving it, I'm still a kind person. So I can put
Mm.
myself first and maintain kindness, which is why
Yes.
it's not selfish.
That is such an important point. That is a huge point, because we think that self-care is selfish. And it can be. There are many examples where it
Mhm.
can be, where people, whether it's women or men or anyone, they put themselves and their needs and their wants, not just their needs, but their wants first, but it's to the detriment of others and maybe to the neglect of others. But it's that change in perspective and in mindset of, it's not about doing something that's unkind, like you said, to your children and to other people, or that's going to hurt them in any way. It's just taking care of yourself. You can still be kind,
Yes.
and you can still be a good example to your children, to know it's important to take care of myself first.
Hmm.
I think that people associate being selfless with being kind,
Yes.
and they want to be viewed also as kind and good. You want people to think we're good. We want people to think we're kind, but we're doing things, and then we have this pent up resentment because we're being depleted.
Absolutely.
A huge thing, which this is a whole other episode that maybe we'll have one day, but there's a book called Good Inside.
Mm,
I don't know if you've heard of it, and I
I
can't think
haven't.
of the author right now. She's a child psychologist, and she says, as parents, we think that our job is to make our kids happy. And when our kids are unhappy, or they want something that they shouldn't have, like staying up late, or eating that dessert and not having dinner, or whatever it is, they cry and they're upset, and we can't bear our kids being unhappy or upset. But really, it's what's best for them. So we can have compassion for them
Absolutely.
while still maintaining the boundary and the rules, and this is what's necessary for their own safety or their own health, or whatever. So, like, also that reminder, like, we don't it's not about making others happy all the time.
No.
It's also respecting, it's what's best for them or for you, and acknowledging that and taking care of that is ultimately good for them as well. It keeps
Yeah.
them safe and it keeps you safe and sane, I
Yes,
think.
absolutely. And going back to when I came up with the idea for the mind quotient and it came to me, the thought is that nobody can be with you all the time. It's not possible. So we need tools, strategies, resources to be able to manage ourselves. So if your child is unhappy or upset, rather than being there to give them or deliver to them whatever would make them happy, provide them the tools to manage themselves through it. And that's
Right.
what we do with MQ.
Right. Right. Even if they can be disappointed and it's
Yes,
okay. They have a
yes.
right there to be able to handle that, to be able to tolerate the disappointment is just human. It's
Mhm,
okay if they feel
mhm.
disappointed.
And
And
it will build resilience.
it'll build resilience. We want our kids
Mhm.
to be strong and resilient, but we don't want them to struggle. And you can only be resilient if you struggle. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a hard lesson for parents, I
I
think, but it's
know.
so necessary. But
I
it
know.
goes back to, and what I love about the MQ also is that it goes back to something that again, with my clients, it starts with the relationship with yourself.
Yes.
That is the foundation of any relationship that you will ever have. And the more that you strengthen that relationship with yourself, even if I'm working with a couple, a lot of my work is individual as
Yeah.
well, because that relationship with yourself is what you're bringing to the relationship with your partner or with anyone else.
I love that you do that because I didn't know it. And
Yeah.
if you're not the best version of yourself, or if you don't love yourself or take care of yourself, then how on earth will you for others?
Yeah. Yeah. You can't. Not fully, right? Not at the level that they deserve and that you deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. This is great. I love this. I love this. If you could leave our listeners with one message, or maybe you want to read a poem or something from Healing with Courage,
Ooh,
what do
okay.
you want them to carry with them today, or what do you want to share with them today?
Is there one in particular that you are thinking of that's coming up for you?
Since we were talking about our children, that's the
Yeah.
first one that when you said that popped into my head. But
I know which one.
you know which one? Okay.
Yes. Because we were talking about children and self-love, and
Mm.
and it's actually the second to last poem in the
Oh,
book. So
okay.
it's called Courageous Decisions.
Okay.
Okay. So it
Good.
says,
That's a good one.
I used to say that if I could give my kids only one thing, it would be confidence. I feel like if it's not confidence, it's to love themselves.
Mm.
How can I teach them what I have not always known? I've been struggling with what self love means. I think it's when I show how to choose myself, respect my own wishes, listen to myself, speak up, trust myself, stay true to me. Every time I have not put myself first, I have in turn disappointed myself. I have not shown myself love. I reread a quote for likely the 100th time. One of the most courageous decisions you'll ever make is to finally let go of what is hurting your heart and soul. For the first time, I didn't think of someone else. I thought, I finally know. I am the one hurting my heart and soul. And that part of me, well, it's finally time to let go.
Oh, wow. I love it. So beautiful.
Thank you.
So beautiful and so powerful. Wow.
That's
I
that
love it.
self love, relationship with
Yes. I
yourself.
love it. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. If our kids need to learn that and need to know that, because I think that for our generation it took us so long to
Yeah,
learn that.
it
Yeah. What a
did.
gift. What a gift. Nami, before we say goodbye, please tell our listeners where they can connect with you.
Oh, yes. You can follow me on any social media. It's Coach Nami. And you can find me on my website, coach-nami.com. And you can find my book on Amazon. And you can just Google it and you'll be linked to some type of ebook, audiobook, Audible, paperback, all of that. And the book's name is Healing with Courage. So, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. And we will link all of that in the show notes as well so people can connect with you. Thank you so much, Nami, for joining me today, for your honesty and your wisdom and your courage and everything that you shared with us. And for everyone listening, I highly recommend Healing with Courage. So please go on Amazon and pick it up today. And I encourage you to just take notice of what it awakens in you and then let me know. Send me an email or DM me on Instagram, lifecoach@odettecoronel.com or at Odette Coronel Coaching, and let us know, what did it stir up in you? And as always, this conversation, if it resonates with you, share it with someone that needs to hear it. And remember that your life and your love are yours to design.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Life and Love by Design with me, your host, Odette Coronel. If anything that you heard today resonated with you, please take a moment to like and share this episode, subscribe, even leave a rating. This helps us grow and reach more amazing people just like you who are ready to evolve and design a life and a love that they want to live. And don't forget to join the conversation on Instagram at Odette Coronel Coaching. I would love to hear your takeaways. And if you don't have Instagram, you can always email me at lifecoach@odettecoronel.com. Until next time, remember, your life and your love are yours to design. See you next week.